Okay, I hope I can edit this because this is really bad. Okay, cool. Welcome to the live stream of the channel. This is our first one. Today we're gonna cruise just some random news articles and kind of break them down for you guys a little bit. Any questions, throw them in the chat. I do have that up and I believe it's working. My name is Justin King. This is Living in the Inland Empire. This is my friend, my lender,
Cody Olson, Secure Choice Lending.
So he handles all the numbers. If you guys have questions about rates and what they're doing, he's more the guy to talk about it than I am. So yeah, let's jump into that. A well search transforming the desert communities and possibly raising housing concerns. So basically, housing is jumping up. One of the big concerns is possibly the affluent communities coming out for affordable housing, kind of messing up that affordable housing aspect for other citizens, other people in the area. What do you think about that, man?
I mean, I think the first thing that stands out in my mind is that, first of all, we're in Southern California. So I feel like everyone that's in the market to buy has a mutual understanding already that it's not cheap. So yes, the affordability in certain areas is more of an issue than others, but people find a way, and I think the market's slowly settling price wise, but I do see what they mean by the potential concern.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I noticed over the last handful of years, one of the big issues is, obviously, like affordable housing is kind of evaporating. Let me put it back on the camera here. Affordable housing has been evaporating, and with that, down payment costs have gone up, so cash out of pocket has gone up a lot, which hurts more people than it helps, so to speak. All right, strategic entry points in Southern California's real estate correction, a value to an investor's guide. So year to date, we're showing, depending on where you look, a 0.9% price growth. A lot of projections were that we're going to drop a few percent. I know in the beginning of the year, a lot of the projections that we're going to raise by about 5%. Mortgage rates kind of saw a peak of probably about 7%.
Roughly, yeah.
So right now we're sitting at 6.1 ish.
Yeah,
with those last ones.
6.2. Yeah. So I mean, the good news is that the prices are leveling out. It's softening in a sense. Depending on who you ask, that might be called a correction, but it's not technically a correction. It's just a slowing of appreciation, which is much needed, especially in the market that we're in right now. The rates are starting to settle as well. I think there's a good opportunity right now for buyers where your prices aren't going up extremely fast, but the rates are also coming down. So you're going to be able to take advantage of like this year's lowest rates, and you're also going to be able to take advantage of the fact that you're not going to pay that much more for the house than you would have a year ago. So it's a good time to jump in and consider buying. There's always a reason not to, I suppose, but I think right now is a good time. But typically, I've always told people around the holidays is a good time because you're going to have much less competition anyway. People aren't focused on buying a house, so that's something else to consider.
Yeah, we've kind of been more in. I don't like calling it a buyer's market. I know if you look at a lot of other kind of reports and outlets, they're calling it a buyer's market. I don't see it that way, just because it seems more like a healthy balanced market when I'm looking at it. When homes are priced right and look right, they go quick still. If they're kind of like in that mid tier, you might be a little bit pushing price or a little bit over. You're going to sit. That's just the way it is right now. Prior to COVID, that's how it was. I mean, that was, forever. 2018, 2019, even beginning of 2020, if you're a little overpriced, you're typically going to sit for about 3 to 4 weeks before you either saw a price correction or you had buyers coming in and asking for closing costs, and that's when they could get those types of incentives.
And I think we're still pivoting into that kind of market where the closing costs are being paid more or less. The reason I say that is because, I'll have buyers ask me, well, can we get closing costs? And I tell them yes, depending on the property. If you have something that was listed 2 days ago and it's a very good list price, meaning, fair for the area or maybe a little less to get it sold, then your chances are going to be lower. But if you have something that's been on the market for a month or 45 days, then that's where you're going to be able to get your closing costs paid for and, negotiate better terms as far as that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we go into like more of the holiday season, with a lot more buyers going on the fence and listings starting to sit longer, it really strengthens the buyer's position.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing noted in here is, The coastal markets remain overvalued, which that's historically that's just the way it's always been, and that's probably just more true to life than ever. The inland areas, that's where we focus. The Inland Empire, as the channel name indicates. Price corrections we're seeing, just under 8% year over year, rising inventory, which creates value opportunities. Inventory has been rising with days on market going up. Obviously, more houses coming on the market, less houses coming off via sales. Yeah, we're going to see inventory rise. We're still kind of at record lows. During COVID, I know Moreno Valley right now. Moreno Valley is where I live, so I've always focused on. Prior to 2020, it was normal to see about 225 to about 275 houses on the market. During COVID, we're seeing some days as low as 50 on the market.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're kind of around that 270 range. So yeah, it's a little bit up, but historically, it's still a pretty average market.
Yeah, and that's a good thing because when you have there's 50 houses for sale, then that's when your house that was listed at 500 is going to end up selling at 580.
Yeah, no contingencies, no repairs.
Yeah, and if the appraisal comes in low, you have to cover it out of pocket. Like the I guess the one disadvantage now compared to that is the interest rates. So your payment will be higher, but it's not to say the rates won't come down in the future, and your overall loan balance is going to be lower still.
Absolutely.
So
this is weird, but sorry, what would you leave off with?
Oh, the inventory and how you won't pay over as much because of there's more for sale now and sellers are being more competitive to sell.
Yeah. So you got to put a little more work on the sell side or be a little more patient. So with that is kind of affecting the investor market as well. Because prior to really the last couple of years, an investor could come and get a house for cheap or get it for whatever their value was, and they knew they were going to be able to sell quick if they priced it, anywhere near correct. Typically investments go a little bit quicker just because you got everything a little more modern. You got a 1980s house, which is pretty common for out here, and you can kind of put those 2025 touches on them. You're going to bring in a much bigger pool, but with the market cooling off as much as it has and materials, construction costs being as high as they have been, it's a lot less meat on the bone, so to speak, for the investors. So that's where they're starting to see, investors really pull back or kind of offer lower than they historically would have.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and this next one's on a new congressional effort to address housing affordability. Personally, I really don't know what Congress or government can do. I mean, my thoughts on it have always been that if they were willing to, the logjam in the market for the longest time was sellers not willing to sell or sellers not having really any incentive to sell. Meaning, back in the COVID days was if they put their house up for sale, they were probably gonna be homeless for a while and risk not being able to get anything. And it was the wild freaking west. Now, really, what the issue has been, and this is going back to, really, what, June of 2022, it's been interest rates. A lot of these people, it's the term is the golden handcuffs. So, it's a really tough pill to swallow going from a 2.5% rate or a 3.5 or even like a 3.75 to, what we have now. You said, what, 6.2, 5.9?
Yeah. So, the thing is to really become a balanced market as far as people being okay to sell. I think rates need to come back to like 5% even or even high fours would be optimal, because at that point, your sellers that have a 3.25 or a 3% rate are going to be like, you know what? I love this house, but I want to upgrade to this house. Yes, I'm at a 3% rate, but I'm going to get a 4.75. I'm okay with that. But going from a 3 to a 6 is very hard, especially when you're talking about a more expensive house. Not to say they're not going to put a bunch of money down from the selling the other one, but it still makes a huge difference on the payment. So I think the as rates come down, more people are going to be willing to sell, and then hopefully in an ideal market, more buyers come into the market, and then we see that'll be a true healthy market at that point. Which I think we're moving to that, but we're not there yet. I think it's on the brink, but we have a little ways to go.
So, like, can you do quick math on it? Like, say a $500,000 house at a 3% rate versus a $500,000 house at a 6% rate.
Oh yeah, it's a big difference. Like, you're talking about,
it's hundreds of dollars, right?
Yeah, it's like another $1,200 a month.
Oof.
Yeah, so it's a big difference.
So that 3% rate, it's about $400 a month roughly on the same price.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about $400 per 1% on
Yeah,
500.
yeah, roughly.
Okay, that's not
Yep.
exact math, but it'll get you in the ballpark.
Yeah, so it's a big difference as people consider it. You know, usually when you're moving up, you're a move up buyer. That's what they call it. Your down payment offsets that, but it doesn't mean you want it to all be eaten up by the rate either. So it's definitely something that people consider. And yeah, the golden handcuffs rule is it's real.
Okay, and we'll go to that article. I don't think I showed it. Um, so okay, they're calling it the Save the American Dream bill, where they want to be able to manage and oversee. What happened here? Okay, little computer glitch. They want to have a basically a task force oversee, how insurance is getting paid out when it comes to housing, how federal funds are being used for financing. Federal funds would be what, like down payment assistance. Would that have anything to do with like FHA or
Yeah,
the way the loans work?
yeah,
The big one I heard would be like Cal HFA, which is a down payment assistance. And really, one of the reasons they want to address this is because the American dream is becoming harder and harder to attain, and we're seeing record numbers of the middle class actually become homeless.
yeah. Now it's everything's getting split. You're getting a division of wealth where it's either the middle class is either homeless or they become very wealthy one way or another, and there's really not going to be it's slowly becoming no in between. So it's pretty crazy to see, and that's obviously because of more than just the cost of housing. It's everything, with the entire inflation,
Oh,
everything
everything's
else in the
expensive,
market.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So yeah, the right here, they're stating that rising housing prices have risen faster than the median household income, which is true because I think I saw something that a couple prior to COVID, an $80,000 to $90,000 income could support a family of four,
mhm.
right? Now I think that number is closer to, I saw 140, but really I think it's probably like 180, just
Mhm.
because auto loans are more expensive than ever.
Yeah,
Student
car
loan.
insurance, homeowners insurance is more expensive. Grocery, everything. You can't. It's like everything costs so much now. Gas. So it's yeah. I feel like it would be 180, and depending on if the kids are in sports and whatever else, it could be 200.
Okay, well, here's kind of a depressing
That's
statistic or
yeah.
number. For those in California, 232,000 was required income to be able to buy a house. The state's median range of 905,000. Where we're at, that's a much lower number. So yeah, I guess about 150 to 180 would be pretty appropriate for Inland Empire,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Increase of 17% over 3 years, which is insane. I know most people's wages haven't gone up that much.
900s, yeah, that's very excessive. But I mean, everything. If you go toward the beach cities, we're in Moreno Valley, Riverside. If you go toward the beach cities, it's an hour away. They're
Mm,
900 a million. If you go to LA, it's 900. That's why it's a good area because it's
yeah.
kind of like a cool pocket where you can get something for 600,000 or
Oh,
five
yeah.
80 or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's I know. After doing this for as long as I have, that's one of the reasons we're never going to see, or we won't. We're highly unlikely to see really a big drop in pricing
Hmm.
out this way. As
Right.
we get like I do a lot of open houses. I'd say probably 60% of the traffic. We're doing these for 10 years is people coming from LA, Orange County, really just in awe of what they can get for what they're paying. Before it was like 2,400, now it's 3,500, 4,000 is kind of the going rate for an apartment out that way.
Yeah, and those people that are coming from those areas, a lot of times they're selling a house, so they have such a big down payment. They're also very qualified buyers, so it's one of
Mm-hmm.
those things where it also props the prices up because you don't have people in a budget squeeze at that point because their down payment's so large. They're like, oh yeah, we can afford it to live with their family or whatever the case is. So that's actually very common out here. Yeah.
Okay, and then the last article we'll go over. Yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties there. Another article on desert cities seeing a surge of affluent new residents. I know that's always been. I don't think it was an issue. It's just more the norm. You get a lot of folks coming from like Canada was the big one, or the northern states looking for like second housing. They come down during the winter months. But they're saying that's really driving up pricing and demand, and it's not really letting them fall into kind of a like a recession, so to speak, in those
Hmm.
areas.
That makes sense. Yeah. Basically propping it up in a sense.
I like that, propping it up. There we are again. Okay, sorry, still learning how to use this technology here. But yeah, it's always been a thing out there. I don't know if the political climate's changing any of that. I know America kind of seems like it's a little bit scarier of a place to live if you're coming from out of area. I'm not really going to touch on that much because
That's a whole nother bag of worms.
that's not my avenue. I'm just here to sell the houses, not
Yeah,
talk
I mean, I
politics.
think there's advantages and disadvantages in every market. Even during COVID, I think like I remember having so many people pre-qualified during COVID because everyone wanted to get approved because the rates were
Oh,
so
the rates were
good.
insane. Yeah,
Yeah, so like you
I don't
didn't
think we
have
realized how good they were back then.
no,
It was
no,
like we had this surge
yeah,
of buyers. Just it was endless. I mean, I put a sign in the yard, and I'd have buyers calling me
yeah.
nonstop.
Like the leads were just like there you couldn't stop. It wouldn't stop. Like, but I remember at one point having so many people pre-approved, and very few of them, like one a week or two a week, would come in actually with a contract. Like the reason why is because you had to go so far over appraised value. Like you could be buying 550,000 as a FHA buyer. If you had your 25,000 or 30,000 it usually takes to buy, that wasn't you needed like 70,000 because you were gonna have to go so far over appraisal to win the. Oh, there was 30 offers on
Oh
it.
yeah, if you're approved, I mean back then if you're approved for 500, you're shopping for 25.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to use the full 500, but
Yeah,
that was just what you had to do. It
yeah,
was
and then cross your fingers the appraisal comes in so you don't spend all your cash.
yeah.
So that was the disadvantage, and I guess advantage there was the rates. But now I mean, the rates aren't as good. Everyone knows that, but there's definitely a little more leeway as far as negotiation goes for the buyer, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I mean it's been a long time since we've seen buyers have the sort of pull or the sort of opportunity or just even being able to be as quote unquote picky
Mm-hmm.
as what they were in the past. It's been a really long time. It's refreshing in a way, but it's definitely kind of weird to learn how to re-navigate this.
Yeah, and even though we typically don't like to promote them, you can get a gauge on what's going on for buyers in the market. I feel like with new build incentives, like for example, when it was during 2021, 2022, when the rates were so low, the builders sometimes weren't even paying the agents. They were like, no,
Yeah,
we're not going to pay anybody.
yeah,
And now they're like giving up the world. Like, we're
yeah.
going to give you all this credit, all these things. Like, that gives you a good gauge of what's going on because they have so much data and like so many leads. Like, they have a big like pulse on the market.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and it's we can usually kind of tell the health of the market or anticipate what's coming, because nobody's pumping more money into the housing market than new build communities, so to
No,
speak.
yeah.
They're taking a huge gamble. They're going through tying into the existing infrastructure, putting together these projects that are, I mean, at least what 2 to 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at least 2 years before they're seeing any sort of. I mean, you can't even call it a return at that point because they're millions of dollars into it, and they sell through the first phase.
Yeah.
So watching what they do and kind of seeing, I don't want to use the word desperate, but how eager they get to get buyers into those homes.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a good pulse to see what's going on around.
It just shows you like that it's competitive for buyers as far as like sellers are willing to help buyers on the resale side. So builders are trying to beat that. Because during COVID, they didn't have to give up anything because no one was. They were like, oh, yeah, you're going to pay $50K more than I have my house listed for. It's going to sell in 3 days.
Oh,
like,
yeah. And even during that time, I had people like going into new builds and it was just kind of a question marks would be the closing date. It could be 3 months and it could be a year and a half. I had a couple situations where, luckily I got their deposit back for them, but they were under contract for 9 months and it was still, we don't know. We can't get lumber. We can't get concrete. We can't get inspectors out to finish it off. And it was just, it was okay. It was a common practice during that time. But yeah, I had quite a few where they just got tired of waiting or tired of feeling like they're getting kind of jerked around.
Mm-hmm.
And, they backed out and ended up going resale.
Yeah.
And that was just as crazy of a market. Every house is going into multiple offer, literally multiple offer situation.
I think that it's a good market right now for buyers. I think there's always good and bad in everything. And if you're in the market to buy, I would say, contact a lender and a real estate agent and at least see like where you're at. Because I have a lot of people where they're like, oh, I'm ready to buy. And then it turns out like, hey, maybe we need to like work on something with your credit, or maybe you should, if it would be in your best interest to pay this account off, or whatever the case is. But we can go over all that if we have some, you're like, hey, I want to start shopping in 2 months. Okay, that's great. You should probably start getting ready now just to be sure and, have a mental note of like how everything's going to look.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the best way to know what you can do is sit down and put together that game plan, or
Mm-hmm.
even if it's a year or two from now. I mean, the amount of people we've had over the years where by the time they want to do something, it's one of those boogeyman on their credit pop up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Like, all right.
it's like an old medical bill, old Boost Mobile bill, or whatever.
You never know.
But
Yeah.
yeah, all right. Well, that was kind of all the articles I thought were relevant. So I guess we can cut this off. I do plan on doing these every Monday at 6:30. I know this one was a little rough. I promise it will get a little smoother as we go along. But yeah, if you're interested in something like this, you can shoot me questions before. I'd love to have some topics to cover. I do kind of plan on just going about this. I do have a few other vendors that I'm planning on getting on, just kind of going into the process and nightmares I've seen or ways to make things work. I have an ADU company, my lender Cody here. But yeah, any questions, shoot them my way. My information will be somewhere in there. If you want to get a hold of a badass mortgage lender, I'll throw Cody's information in there. But anyways, again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.